Hello everybody and welcome back if you've been away. Just welcome if you haven't. It's good to have your company at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm John Hindorf in the Global Broadcast Centre and we are ready for our second race of two this weekend for the Porsche Carrera Cup North America as we head towards the close of what's been a super exciting and competitive season here in 2024. And Shea Adam is joining me in Global Broadcast Centre. We'll talk to her in just a wee moment's time. We are literally just outside the downtown area of Indianapolis in Speedway, Indiana. You all know where this fabulously historic track is. 2.4 miles or 4 kilometres around 14 corners. We are going... Every time we're on the oval, we're going in the wrong direction. So if you've watched the 500 here, then everything is turned around. So wrong way down the start-finish straight, down towards turn 4, which is our turn 1. Then we double back through the middle part of the infield and come round the wrong way back from turn 2 to turn number 1. A bumper field of cars that Shea Adam and I will be talking about. And Luke Hartog did rather well in the first race yesterday. Let's remind ourselves of what happened in that first race of two this weekend. Great sight to see as the cars came to the green flag. Luke Hartog in the green and white car holding off Jimmy Liebler in the red, white and blue cars that went down to the first corner. Looked like Liebler might have edged ahead for a moment. Then slightly further back, the first bit of contact. Nate Boltas came off the worst on that one. Down towards turn 1, one of our big action areas. Alan Metney got through in the GT Silver number 99 car. Glorious piece of overtaking. Scott Blind was battling with Richard Edge for the Pro-Am battle all day. And Richard, stout defence, but went too wide coming out of turn 6. All four Yokohamas off the track. And that gave him a 10-second penalty. Alan Metney winning Pro-Am. Scott Blind and Richard let him go through at the line. I thought that was brilliant sportsmanship. And, well, we didn't say that much of Luke Hartog. He extends his championship lead as he drove away to a very comfortable lead indeed. Shea Adam, plenty going on behind Luke Hartog in that first race, but as we've mentioned, he's pulled away as far as the championship is concerned.
Unofficially a 70-point gap for Luke Hartog now over Alex Sedgwick, and they start 1-2 in today's race with Ryan Yardley third in the championship and third on the racetrack. Yardley 11 points behind Sedgwick, so still that battle for the lead is not yet over. 5 races, including today, means that Luke Hartog can be beaten, but not if he drives like he did yesterday. That was an impressive performance by the young Dutchman.
Let's have a quick look at how they will line up on the Porsche starting grid. It's Luke Hartog for Kelly Moss, and he'll have Alex Sedgwick, the Brit, alongside him. It's Ryan Yardley and Dan Clark for Top and Era Motorsport on row 2. And the top 10 made up by Michael Cooper, Jimmy Lieber on row 3, Colin Kaminsky and Zachary Vanier on row 4, Michael McCann and Elias De La Torre on row 5. And on row 6, Yves Baltas and Sabra Cook. Sabra into the top 10, scored a 9th position yesterday. Pro-Am pole sitter is Alan Metney, he's in 13th position. And the Masters class, Matt Holcomb and Chris Palomo are in 20th and 21st position as they battle for the championship. That's our Porsche grid lineup as we come to the green flag. Beautiful 2x2 formation, 40 minutes on the clock. Are you ready to go racing? Flat 6, 4 litre, normally aspirated, 500 horsepower in each of these cars, and we're green and racing The weekend of the TireRack.com Battle on the Bricks. This is Porsche Carrera Cup North America. And Luke Hartog weaves one way or the other. Alex Sedgwick stays in it, tries to go around the outside in the red car. He'll have the inside for turn 2, but he's pushed wide. And that allowed Dan Clark, I think, to come through into third place. Ryan Yardley tried to tough it out just a little bit there, but Clark was the better starters from the front, and already a spinner down the field. John Getz, who finished the last race in the pits, has had, I think, a coming together with
Todd
is
Parriott.
That the 13? It is Todd Parriott in the Kelly Moss Racing. Kelly Moss got 5 of 9 podium positions in that first race yesterday, but once again Luke Hartog has made his bid for freedom, with Alex Sedgwick trying to give him a hard time. Huge slide by the pink number 88, and Todd Parriott has got some damage. Michael Cooper was the car sliding around. What happened in the mid-pack? Oh, it was just a coming together. In fact, it was John Getz, I think, who got a little tap from behind. Side-by-side action, and Todd is not going to go any further. He's got to the cutout of turn 1. Now, if he can pull that car far enough round going backwards, I think, Adam, he might be safe there. We may not have to recover that car. As also coming into the pits is one of the cars that was involved as well.
Pedro
Can we
Torres.
stay green, Adam? What do you reckon?
I believe we can. It was Pedro Torres who came into the pit lane, and he has made it down, trundling down at the pit speed limit, very much ahead of the rest of the pack. So his first lap will not be counted, as Sabre Cook now has her hands full once again of Yves Baltas, those two who were tethered together for most of the race yesterday. The contact yesterday being with Elias De La Torre, though, who is well and truly clear of that battle. Michael Cooper getting loose a few moments ago. We should mention Michael was disqualified from yesterday's race. He failed post-race tech due to ride height, so he was moved to the back of the classification, which actually had championship implications, because it took Michael Cooper from being well within the battle of the top 4 to being well within the grasp of the 6th place in the competition. There was a moment there for Colin Kaminsky, who went off at turn 6. Did he maybe just drop a wheel on the grass under braking? Let's see. No, he was ushered out.
Eased. Yeah, he was eased into it, wasn't he, by Yves Baltas in the ACI Motorsport Gold machine, but it was a side-on contact with the tyre wall. Tyre walls might not look particularly technologically advanced, but my goodness, they do their job. They dissipate the energy, particularly if you go into them sideways. We'll see if that car can continue. Luke Hartog crosses the line with the fastest lap so far, 1:26.965. That has a point that goes along with it. So we'll keep an eye on that. Jordan Wallace in Pro-Am leads for Kelly Moss. How did he get through that? That must have been that mid-pack schmozzle that we saw. So Jordan Wallace for the number 23 Kelly Moss car ahead of Alan Metney. And it's John Getz who's had the fastest lap in the Masters category, currently led once again by Richard Edge, who's fought his way through. And Scott Blin's had an absolute nightmare. He's dropped 2 or 3 cars and at least a position. He's down into 3rd in the Masters. However, the battles are going on at the bottom end of the top 10. Michael Cooper has Zach Vanier right behind him, Shea.
But there's real drama for the Masters Championship, because Chris Palomo is the only driver left who can touch Matt Halcomb, and Chris Palomo is in the pit lane. This is horrible for the Kelly Moss driver. He needs to outscore Matt Halcomb in each of the remaining 5 races to have a shot at this championship. It's not going to happen today.
Well, that is awful news for Chris Palomo and the Kelly Moss racing team. Andy and Victoria on site, of course, as Luke Hartog, their superstar for 2024. They have a habit of getting the right drivers. Luke Hartog chose them. He wanted to advance his career and decided the way to do that was go to Kelly Moss, who have won championship upon championship in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America in its various guises down through the years. It doesn't seem to have mattered what shape, model type has been the weapon of choice. Kelly Moss have won championships for drivers and for teams. And Luke Hartog has cleared out to half a second or thereabouts. I've got to say, Alex Sedgwick, Adam, is keeping the leader honest at the moment, but still the battle for 7th and 8th. Michael Cooper in the pink-fronted car and Zach Vanier in the black and white machine. They're going at it hammer and tongs.
They really are, and Alex Sedgwick, credit to him. I mean, he is barely off the pace that we were seeing from Luke Hartog, and actually he's going quicker than Hartog is this lap around. So clearly Alex Sedgwick is extra motivated after that 3rd place finish in yesterday's race. But speaking of motivated, Zach Vanier, he wants to continue moving up the field. 4th in the championship, like I mentioned, only a further 11 points behind Ryan Yardley. Right now he is looking at the back of that baby bull car, trying to analyze any possible weakness. And let's be honest, we've seen a few. Michael Cooper's been sliding around a bit this morning. Zach Vanier's car seems to be very well planted.
Keep an eye on Michael McCann just behind them in the mostly red car with the black and white roof. He will want to try and close in down the inside for Vanier at turn number 1. But the number 88 of Michael McCann knows all he has to do is get to the apex of turn 2, the middle of the turn 2 corner first, and you cannot get around at that point. You just can't get the grip. It's been overnight rain here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We had a few drops yesterday that did nothing really to affect the grip levels on the track, but my goodness me, there was plenty of precipitation, and really the track is evolving all over again. 2 GT silver cars going side by side past Jordan Wallace, who's the leader in class. One of them, the 99, the second of those 2 GT silver cars, is his competitor in the Pro-Am class. The other car is Jake Pedersen, is it, in the Kelly Moss machine? Yes,
no,
it is.
I think it's Madeline Stewart.
Oh no, you're right, it is Madeline Stewart coming through from behind them in the JDX machine. Madeline, I apologise wholeheartedly. 82, not 85. So Madeline there cutting her way through the Pro-Am battle on the outskirts of the top 10. As we still have 32 minutes remaining. Shane.
And we've got a drive-through penalty that's just been issued, John. Yves Baltus, incident responsibility with Colin Kaminsky that ultimately resulted in Kaminsky sideways in the barrier at turn 6 will mean that the 15 comes down the pit lane. Now, Jordan Wallace does not need to fight off Madeline Stewart. She's in a different class than he is, and by fighting her, he's actually slowing himself down and opening the door for Alan Metney, and there goes Metney. Is off the track is Michael Cooper. Where is that? I think that was turn 2 or 3. Oh, and quite a bit of tire rub on the front of that baby bull car.
Turn 5, 6 shit as they were going on to the Holman Boulevard in the middle of the circuit. 1, 2, 3, 4 across the track. Remember, he was battling with Yves Baltas. Baltas has got ahead,
no, that was Zach
and there was a
Vanier.
little bit of a bump, and it was Vanier, excuse me. Yes, Vanier had got ahead in the black and white car, but there was contact, and they both actually went off the track. Now, the bad news for that number 8 Baby Bull Racing pink fronted car is he's lost his front splitter, the bottom of his front splitter. I'm pretty certain that was the piece of rubber that I saw coming off that car. Yes, it was. It's still there. Yeah, I can just see the black bit on the edge in front of the wheel arch of the number 9 car of Zach Vanier. They've both dropped down a couple of positions now. They're outside the top 10, which means Sabra Kirk is inside the top 10. This could be a double top 10 finish for the Era Motorsport driver. Changed teams mid-season, as did Dan Clark. Always unsettling in the middle of a season. At the front of the field, Luke Hartog has just on 0.8 of a second between the red car, himself in the red car of JDX's PT Autosports, Alan Sedgwick. Then Dan Clark and Ryan Yardley are battling for the last step on the box. The bright grey car is Dan Clark, the gold and black number 78 TCS sponsored machine is that of Ryan Yardley. And to be honest, Jimmy Eblet, who faded a bit, the 2 drivers just got their tyre strategy wrong in the first race yesterday, and their pace went away at the end of the 40 minutes. We've still got 30 of the 40 minutes to go. And I just wonder what has been learned here. On the track, it's 104 Fahrenheit, which is 40 Celsius, and in the air, it is 82 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. So the Yokohamas are going to have to work in the last 10 or 12 minutes of this race.
Yeah, but remember yesterday's race was a lot hotter and we didn't see that drop off, especially in the lap times. They were still putting in the very quick laps towards the end of the race. So the Yokohamas should not be a factor for today's race. They shouldn't be any concern. The lead for the Pro-Am battle is now not just with Metney and Wallace for P1, but Jeff Mosing has edged his way up to them as well. And the custard and rhubarb car, as you like to say, John, the number 56 Top Racing is there as well.
He's moving into sight, isn't he, as they go through the chicane onto Ulman Boulevard, the infield straight. Metney goes to the right-hand side. That's the long way around into turn 7. But of course, if he can't get the overlap, he might be able to make the inside and turn 8. He can't, and here comes that car Shay was talking about, Jeff Mosing for Top Racing Performance. It's a three-way scrap. This little battle pack now, and this is for the Pro-Am top 3. Richard Edge in Masters is not that far behind, you know, and he's got his ACI Motorsports teammate Matt Holcomb with him. Richard really should have won yesterday, but he just gave it a little bit too many times at the exit of turn 6, picked up a 10-second penalty and was relegated down the field. Actually, because of some late race drama, he still picked up 4th position and the points that go along with it. So the silver and blue car coming across the line now is the leader in the Masters category, and the Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine, the number 55, is in second. Then it's Moisey Aretsky in another one of the Baby Bull racing cars with the pink front. Efren Castro's behind him for Kelly Moss. So this is going to be a 6 or 7 Porsche GT3 Cup train with Pro-Am leaders, Masters leaders, and the Pro-Am 4th and 5th cars coming in to the scrap as well. This could get particularly feisty. And just at the head of that field, Jordan Wallace in the mostly white car. I've got to say, Jordan is driving very assuredly here, Shea. He doesn't feel the need to defend his position. He must feel confident on the brakes in that mostly white number 23 car.
No, for sure, and Jordan's still fairly new to racing in general, so being able to keep a multi-time champion like Alan Metney behind you without getting rattled, that is impressive. Jordan, who is yet to win a race in the series, has finished in just about every single position that you can except for the top step, and Alan Metney, a man who's won very many races, wanting to get back, is trying to put him under pressure, but Jordan's doing a great job. And let's not forget that all these cars are identical. The only thing that makes them in a different class is the age of the nut behind the wheel, the carbon-based life form, i.e. the driver. So any car is capable of doing any lap time. It's just a matter of what the driver is then capable of doing. So that train of Porsches that we've been seeing for the Pro-Am and the Masters battle, they're all the same. That makes it even more intriguing.
Dan Clark still holding off the black and gold number 78, Ryan Yardley for Top Racing Performance. They are battling for 3rd and 4th with Jimmy Liebler in the red, white and blue car trying to come through in the background. 26 minutes still to go, and these drivers are pushing really hard. Back to the battle at the head of Pro-Am, coming through turns 7 and 8, now through to the left-hander at turn 9, and now into 10 already. Alan Metney, iFly number 99. iFly is the indoor free fall area. Oh, now there's been some contact on Michael Cooper for Baby Bull Racing, the left-hand side of his car. Now that was the contact from earlier on with Zach Vanier when they were battling towards the bottom end of the top 10, and it's slightly deranged the front of that number 88 Michael Cooper car.
Well,
now,
it's also resulted in a penalty, John, and it is a 10-second post-race penalty for Michael Cooper, meaning that this weekend will be one that he and Baby Bull Racing want to forget. Unfortunately, both races ending with penalties for Baby Bull Racing.
I would be slightly worried about the right-hand side of what is the luggage cover on a road going 911, 992 GT3, because that is starting to move around. If the air gets under that, that will pull it off. The GT3 Cup car, a very close relative to the car that you could go down to your Porsche dealer and look at. You have to be approved to buy one of the GT products. GT3 comes in GT3 and GT3 Touring. The Touring doesn't have the large rear wing, not quite as big as this one. So where are the differences? Well, the GT3 has 20 and 21-inch wheels. We run on 18-inch racing rims and Yokohama race tyres here. You can specify the GT3. Oh, Todd Parriott. Oh no, that's still Todd Parriott's car, so that hasn't moved before. You can spec the GT3 road car with a 6-speed manual gearbox and 3 pedals, or with Porsche's legendary PDK, the double clutch semi-automatic paddle shift, whereas the race car has a racing gearbox, sequential with paddle shift operation. But you know, other than that, and other than the fact that the race cars are stripped out, the engine is identical. It is the 4-litre 6-cylinder 500 plus horsepower, normally aspirated flat 6. The bodywork is pretty similar, including those vents in the luggage cover at the front. The only thing that's different on the bodywork is the race cars have the air intakes on the rear fenders, the rear wheel arches, that actually come from the Carrera Turbo. But otherwise, you still get the wide body, as all of the 992s do. So pretty close is the answer to that. If you want a Cup car to drive on the street, then that's what you need to do. Go stand in line, put your money down and wait for a little while. But do it quickly, because the 992.2 is already out, and that has hybrid assistance, and that will be, we're not sure how long the venerable 4-litre normally aspirated engine will stay, although Porsche saying that they feel they can keep it going in the GT products for a wee while. Still this battle raging on, Shea, at the front of Pro-Am, just outside the top 10.
Well, and the battle for the overall lead as well. Alex Sedgwick closed within half a second of Luke Hartog last lap around, and the difference was 2/10 between the leaders when they crossed the line. So they are definitely getting closer to one another. But Jordan Wallace continuing to stay calm under the pressure that Alan Metney is putting on. Jeff Mosing just being that ever bit cautious, hanging back, going, you guys have a little bit of fun. When you're ready, I'll pick up the pieces. But Alex Sedgwick has been the driver of the day so far for me, because he's been able to keep a handle on Luke Hartog, and that hasn't happened very often this year. Oh, Luke is getting loose, and so is Alex coming through turn 2. Both of the cars with the rear wheels skidding sideways across the pavement. That's not how they're supposed to work there, boys.
Well, we know Yokohama do very good off-road tyres. I'm not sure that ditch hooking the inside curb at turn number 2 is what the tyre engineers were looking for. By the way, thanks to Ben for that question about how similar the Carrera Cup cars are to their road-going variants. Side by side, Metney in turn 1 in the iFly GT Silver number 99. That is a colour that you can buy your Porsche 911 in. And in fact, all of the cars are supplied in that colour. But thanks to wraps nowadays, we get a beautiful variety of liveries through 29 cars that started the field today. This has been a really good drive by Jordan Wallace. He's feeling the pressure now a little bit more, Shea, because he's in the middle of the road going into turn 7 and round the outside. For Metney, he'll get the inside curve of turn 8. He might be able to convert this, and here comes Jeff Mosing as well. Oh, that's brilliant stuff from Metney. He had to tough that one out, but he planned and schemed and worked that one out, and Metney's right there now. So Jordan, who hadn't been defending for the previous laps, we made a comment about it, felt he had to defend, and that gave the outside line to Metney. He must have thought that was okay, but Metney was prepared to tough it out. Lovely pass, and great respect from both of those drivers, Shea.
Beautiful move, beautiful opportunity that Metney saw. He kind of wedged the door open that tiny bit further and did exactly what he needed to take the Pro-Am lead. Alan Metney, only 2 wins on the season thus far, looking to set that right and get another one here today. Excuse me, 3 wins after yesterday, and he wants the weekend sweep at Indy, John. He has never, prior to yesterday, won a race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. In 3 previous attempts, he finally got it done.
And just behind that top 4 battle for Pro-Am, Richard Edge is still having to deal with Efren Castro. But how about the battle for now a 3rd place? Efren Castro's gone through on Richard Edge. They're not in the same category. And he's in that black and white car, caught up with Jeff Mosing. Richard's in the blue car. Then there's a little gap back to Matt Holcomb again. They were sort of split up as Efren came through that in the Kelly Moss racing car. So that's just split up for the moment, that Masters battle. Moise Uretsky coming through as well for Baby Bull Racing. And Scott Blind, a couple of seconds further back, is 3rd in the Masters category. So the Pro-Am and the Masters leaders all together from 13th down to 21st position. That's the top 3 in Masters and the top 6 in Pro-Am, all battling at the moment. And remember, the cars are identical, as Shea said earlier, and it's about the age and racing experience of the drivers. You can elect, if you qualify for Pro-Am or Masters, you could elect, if you're a Masters category set by the age of the drivers, you could elect to be a Pro-Am in the Pro-Am class, or even in the Pro class. What you can't do is go the other way.
Yes, if you are above the age limit, you cannot cheat your way down. That is true. And Matt Halcomb, currently 2nd in the Masters class on the track, but 1st in the championship. I've just checked my notes. The last time he won a race was Montreal, John. So I think Matt Halcomb, more than anyone else, wants him to win a race to try and set that right this weekend. Forget the fact that it's an Indianapolis Motor Speedway and you get to kiss the bricks. It's been, what, 3 months since he's last stood on the top step of the podium. For the championship leader, it's one thing to get the big trophy at the end of the year, but you do like getting those little ones along the way too.
I think also the fact that it's Richard Edge, his ACI Motorsport teammate. Now, it's not as though there'll be team orders here, by the way. Each of the drivers within the teams, within the team awning, they are driving for themselves, but I think you'd get a little more leeway from Richard than if it was someone else. What Matt doesn't need to do at this point, with Chris Palomo stopping at the end of lap 1, end of lap 2 actually, in the pit lane, and we haven't heard yet from the Kelly Moss team what the problem was for Chris. He's the nearest contender to the Masters leader, Matt Holcomb. But Matt doesn't want to throw this advantage away, so there'll be no do-or-die manoeuvres on his teammates. At the front, Luke Hartog leads by just under 2 seconds from Alex Sedgwick. The battle in the Pro classes for the last step on the podium. Era Motorsports' Dan Clark, former IndyCar driver, in the green and GT silver car, with a bit of highlighter yellow on there. And behind him, at what, 2 Porsche 911s lengths? Not even that is their brick for the end of the lap, and through turns 12 and 13. That is Ryan Yardley for Top Racing Performance in the black and gold TCS sponsored machine. Now these 2 drivers, they just want the position. Dan Clark will be a little bit disappointed he's not battling for the lead, but he's not going to give up this 3rd position at all easily. He stays to the pit wall, now moves back to the middle at turn 1. Yardley's got round the outside and now there was a contact there. And through goes Jimmy Libra. I suggested earlier on that he might be able to pick up the pieces. Did Dan Clark give enough room on the outside going through turn 1? That's what race control will be looking at there. It was the slightest of touches, Shea Adam, but it did mean Ryan Yardley had to go off the track.
Yep, Yardley moving hard to driver's left under the braking. Clark coming back off slightly to cover. He did get a little bit loose over the curbs, but I don't think Dan Clark was out of control of his car at any point in time. Ryan Yardley trying to go outside turn 1. It's brave, it's bold, it's optimistic. It works most of the time. It didn't work that time, unfortunately, with the way around. And we'll have to wait and see what race control decides, because they are already investigating that move.
Yeah, they have to. It was for a major position. They look at every incident on their merits. It doesn't matter if it's lap 1 or the final lap. And fortunately, no damage to either of the cars. My worry would have been that there would have been right front steering damage to Ryan Yardley there. The Yokohama tyres stick out further at the bottom, at the front of the car, and the rear actually, than they do at the top. That is called camber. It helps the cars corner because it puts the Yokohama racing slick more flatly onto the road when you're leaning on it. That's why the race teams camber. You wouldn't do that on the road because you're just not working the tyre so much. There's a tiny bit of camber on your road going tyres, but nowhere near what you run here. The tyre companies, Yokohama no different, will tell the teams the maximum amount of camber that you're allowed to have.
Well, John, you were mentioning the Yokohama tire life, and I've been watching the times. When you said the gap between the top 2 was 2.5 seconds, I kind of had to rub my eyes a second to look at the timing screen and find out where that went, because Alex Sedgwick has been turning very impressive lap times, but Luke Hartog has been on it. Both drivers have been well within the 27s for about the last 10 laps consecutively, whereas everybody else in the field, bar 1 or 2 cars, has been 28s, 29s, even 30s. Hartog, though, has managed to find something. He's become a bit of a tire whisperer this year, and his last time around was 27.4. This time was a 27.6, whereas Sedgwick was a 27.5. So the two drivers clearly still have a lot of life left in their Yokohamas, but their lap times have been nearly identical the whole way through, so I have no idea where that gap came from.
Luke Hartog has the ability to just find half a tenth here, a tenth there, and it's almost imperceptible, but all of a sudden he's found a second over the space of 8 or 10 laps, and that's all you're talking about. It's very, very fine margins indeed. We've done, now this is the 20th lap, and there's 2.5 seconds, so quite obviously that's just over 0.2 of a second per lap, and that's absolutely nothing. Hartog continue to lapping, and no further action, by the way, on that Dan Clark and Ryan Yardley incident at turn 1. We are starting to get warnings for track limits, but not yet. I have to say, Shea, I haven't seen a final warning yet for anyone. Nope. And I think once people are getting the message from their teams, they are starting to scale it back, particularly after the ramifications of what happened yesterday in the Masters Class race, where results were changed specifically for Richard Edge because of track limit violations. So what we're seeing are people being a lot more cognizant of the track limits today, a lot more respectful. And to be honest, the racing has been even better than what we saw yesterday. We've seen really clean back and forths between everybody in each of the classes. Really impressive. Dane Clark yesterday managing to come home with a P5.
looking at getting a home podium today. Jimmy Lieber with that heartbreak yesterday at the end of race number 1, pulling into the pit lane and ultimately getting a DNF after running well within the top 3 for the entirety of the race. He looks at P4 right now at the back of Speedy Dan Clark's car and is trying to figure out any way to get to a podium. But Elias De La Torre down in 6th, he's another driver who I'm looking at as somebody who might just be able to do something on Ryan Yardley, because the gap between those two cars is coming down. We've got battles everywhere, John.
How did Sedgwick get past Jimmy Lieber's made a mistake, because Lieber was up into ahead, was he not? No, he was ahead of Yardley.
No.
My apologies.
Yep.
He was ahead of Yardley. Yeah, sorry. That was the Clark and Yardley. Sedgwick has always been in 2nd position. So yes, Jimmy Lieber now the closest competitor to Dan Clark. Meantime, the mystery machine goes wide at the chicane. That is Matt Holcomb in the number 55, and through for Marco Cironi in the Pro-Am number 84, the darker car behind
Different
that.
classes.
Of course, good point. That is an overall position, but not a class position, as she rightly mentioned. Pedro Torres in that as well for ACI Motorsport. I think he's a lap down now. Yes, he is, to the leaders. So the 16 car, the blue car in that little battle pack, is actually not in the fight. However, the 77 and 18 very much are, and Colin Comiskey has gone ahead of Richard Edge. Again, that's not a battle for position. So the 77 darker blue car ahead of the lighter blue and grey, but that still leaves Richard Edge for a little bit of redemption. Notice the colour of the door mirrors on Colin's car and the edging on the number panel. They are bright highlighter yellow. That underlining of the name also yellow. That means that he is in the he is in the Masters category, excuse me.
He is one of the Jedi Masters. Yes, that is correct.
The Jedis, yes.
The Padawan class is Pro. The Jedis are the Pro-Am, and the Masters, obviously. Jeff Mosing does not have much left in his Yokohama tires as he tries to chase down Efren Castro to reclaim the 3rd step on the podium. And Jeff Mosing is giving it his all, as he so often does. That Porsche looks completely out of control, and Jeff has just got the biggest smile on his face, you know it. He's one of the competitors who's been in this series for a very, very, very long time, a champion of the previous iteration, and Jeff Mosing has so much fun battling with Efren Castro. The two guys, good friends off the track, good friends on the track. They keep it clean, but they do like to have it out.
And all of a sudden, Shea, we're into the last 7 minutes right now here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's the TireRack.com Battle on the Bricks event this weekend, and this is race number 2 for Porsche Carrera Cup North America, with just 4 more races to decide the season once we see the checkered flag here. And still Luke Hartog doing a Luke Hartog job, and from being nothing, being 0.8 of a second, then all of a sudden it was 2 seconds, and right now it's 3.197 seconds at the line. And again, he's done that almost imperceptibly, Shea, by just taking out, it was a 10th the last time around, just under a 10th. It was a 10th and a half the time before that, a 27.5 against a 27.6 and a 27.7 and a 27.8. That's the top 4 times. Absolutely nothing between them. But generally speaking, it's Luke Hartog who just has a slim advantage. And Alex Sedgwick's going to have to be careful coming off the turn 6 curbs as well. That's what did for Richard Edge yesterday. That red car, for a moment there, had all 4 Yokohamas outside of the white line before he dragged it back on to the track. What about Alan Metney? This has been a good run for him. He sits just outside the top 10 in 13th position, but he's got Zach Vanier between himself and the chasing Pro-Am cars now, Shea. And this looks like another win for the number 99 from Kelly Moss.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it to him before we get to the checkered flag, though, because Alan Metney is a superstitious guy, and he would not appreciate me doing that. But Alan Metney has done everything today that he needed to try and secure a win, a second win here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Alan will be the most thrilled guy in the paddock about that, especially because after yesterday's race, he moved himself up to third in the championship battle from fourth. Given today's race and the success that could be pending for him, we could see him up as high as second, maybe even first, actually, depending on where Uretsky finishes. And right now, Moise Uretsky is P5, and Marco Cironi is P6. Ooh, and he could be right back in this championship hunt, actually. I'm not going to do the math yet, because we're too soon for that, but this could be getting very, very interesting indeed.
Battle with Jordan Wallace going down the inside of Zach Vanier. They aren't battling for class, and Jordan Wallace wants to get closer to his Kelly Moss teammate in Pro-Am. At the moment, it is a Pro-Am. Well, just as I said that, Efren Castro falls off from third position in Pro-Am. It was, till that point, a Pro-Am podium sweep for Kelly Moss racing drivers, but Efren Castro in the 65 black and white car has just spun that away. So it's Metney from Wallace. There's 5 seconds between them, and Jeff Mosing is the driver who will benefit. Was that a little bit too much inside curb at turn number 13 there, Shea, do you think, for Efren?
I'm going to leave that to race control to try and decide, because that was way too close with too many cars involved. And Efren Castro will be upset at the end of the day, but he should be more upset on the championship implications. Meanwhile, out front, championship implications, Luke Hartog leading the way. Well, this is big, because the champion for each of the past Carrera Cup North America seasons has won at Indianapolis. Luke Hartog would be the only driver to have won at Indianapolis, meaning if the pattern's going to continue, and you know how I love patterns, Luke Hartog is going to be our 2024 champion.
Yeah, that's right. We've had split winners here, but one of the winners, as Shea mentions, that have stood on the top step of the podium, have kissed the bricks here when this championship has been here in the past. One of the winners has always gone on. Luke Hartog, for right now, is putting together a delightful double with, I think, the end of this lap. Where will we be? Maybe one more after that. Actually, 2 more after that. It'll be Alan Metney still holds sway for the moment in another Kelly Moss car. It's Kelly Moss, JDX and Era at the front of the field. Kelly Moss, and top in Pro-Am. ACI, and Ruckus. Richard Edge coming back from the disappointment yesterday, Shea Adam, to lead this race with just over a lap to go.
And for Richard Edge, yesterday's disappointment was felt in the championship battle as well, because Richard went from P4 in the championship down to P6, and all of that came as due from that penalty. Richard, who won both of the races at Watkins Glen, one of them getting the pole position, one taking the fast lap. He has done an excellent job here today to try and assert that authority, but the fast lap from today's race is actually going to go the way of John Getz after the spin on the opening lap. He's been the only driver in the category to set a time below a 28, or it was a 28, but it was below that 29 benchmark, which is where everybody else has been hovering around for the remainder of the race. And once again, I'm impressed by the Yokohamas, because although we've had some drop-off as far as the lap times are concerned, hasn't been that much, and it hasn't been enough to really talk about. I mean, Luke Hartog's last lap around, lap 26, a second off of his fastest lap. That's impressive.
Well, and Madeline Stewart in the JDX Racing number 11 has just done her fastest lap of the race at 28.2 last time around. As the leader comes to see the white flag, we have 2.4 miles for Luke Hartog, who puts a lap on Javier Ripoll in the Momenta FMS Motorsport. And he comes down into the first corner. Just on 3 seconds, the gap between himself and Alex Sedgwick, excuse me. So, a couple of Brits and a man from the Netherlands on the podium as it stands at the moment. 3 different teams, Kelly Moss, JDX, Era Motorsport. 8 seconds between the top 3. And they are all on the Holman Boulevard straight at the same time. Alan Metney with a comfortable lead coming into the last lap, over 7 seconds on his teammate Jordan Wallace. The 2 Kelly Moss drivers then for Pro-Am, with Jeff Mosing another almost 6 seconds further back. And in the Masters, Richard Edge will feel as though he gets his just desserts.
Oh no.
Oh, into the pits. Who was that coming into the pits there? We'll sort that out in a moment. Indianapolis Motor Speedway belongs to Luke Hartog for Porsche Carrera Cup North America. The Kelly Moss racing driver has claimed both of the victories, both of the pole positions, and he's taken the fastest lap in this second race as well. It's a practically perfect weekend for the championship leader, who stretches that lead. In Pro-Am, Alan Metney is another Kelly Moss winner as he comes through to the end of the lap now.
But
just
Jeff Mosing had an issue on that last lap, John, and he has dropped from P3 to P6, and that has championship implications because it's moved Moise Uretsky up to 3rd, Marco Cironi to 4th. So even though Alan Metney is coming to see the checkered flag, our championship battle is now a 3-way fight. Congratulations, Alan Metney, on 2nd win of the weekend.
So both of our Pro and Pro-Am winners were double winners, and actually, I was going to say Richard Edge crossed the line twice in the lead, but he didn't. He actually pulled over in the first race because he knew he had that 10-second penalty that would drop him to fourth position. It's tight on the line for the Masters category. They come up 20th, 21st and 22nd, and there's only half a second between them, but Richard Edge heads home, and ACI 1-2 with Matt Holcomb behind him, and Scott Blind right there at the end. Into the pits at the end, Angel Benitez pulled the number 5 car in. He was a lap off the lead, but he won't come down. He won't see the checkered flag other than in the pit lane. So Luke Hartog then, as I said, Mary Poppins weekend, practically perfect. I think I saw him put a wheel wrong. To remind you, it was Hartog, Sedgwick and Dan Clark for Kelly Moss, JDX and Era on the podium. ACI's Jimmy Libra from Top Racing's Ryan Yardley in the top 10, made up by JDX Elias de la Torre, Kelly Moss's Michael McCann and Era's Sabra Cook, with 2 top 10 finishes this weekend for Sabra. Kelly Moss, Jake Pedersen and Baby Bull's Michael Cooper in the top 10. Just outside, Madeline Stewart fought her way back with a couple of fast laps for her at the end, and JDX taking in 11th. Alan Metney wins Pro-Am in 12th from Jordan Wallace and Marco Cironi and Moise Uretsky in 14th, 15th and 16th. And then slightly further down in 20th, Richard Edge gets a little bit back from his disappointment yesterday. All of his own making, it should be said, but ACI take 1st and 2nd with Matt Holcomb coming through in 21st. And Scott Blind for Ruckus Racing takes the 3rd Masters step on the podium. Jeff Mosing with a problem near the end. John Getz with an issue, but still finishes 4th in Masters. Chris Belomo is the big loser in the Masters class, along with Todd Parriott, who had contact early on. He didn't get past the first corner, but Belomo, that absolutely kicks a dent in his championship aspirations. And Shea Adam has the championship points.
All right, well, let's start with the Masters class then, because Matt Halcomb with a P2 today, and the bad finish for Chris Belomo extends his advantage to 31 points. It is now 246 to 215, with Richard Edge firmly in third place at 153. In the Pro-Am class, it's all change. Alan Metney, 2 race wins this weekend, championship lead unofficially by 1 point, 187 ahead of Moisey Uretsky in second on 186, Marco Cironi in third on 184, Efren Castro in fourth, 167, and then Jordan Wallace in fifth with 157. But at the head of the field, it's this man, Luke Hartog. It's been the story of him all weekend long. 262 points over Alex Sedgwick, who, by the way, congratulations, 4th consecutive Porsche Carrera Cup North America podium for Sedgwick, 5th here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 186 points in second. He still has a good advantage over Ryan Yardley in third on 167. And then in fourth place, it is still Zach Vanier, 151 now for the Canadian.
Luke Hartog by the yard of bricks in the pit lane. 18 podium steps were filled this weekend, 8 of them taken up by Kelly Moss drivers. Luke Hartog has pulled away at the head of the pro field. Alan Metney has made his championship charge at the right time in the Pro-Am. And Richard Edge does get his victory for ACI Motorsports for Shea Adam. I'm John Hindorf. Thanks for joining us.